What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Undrafted Views. We're here. We talk sports from the sidelines. And today we're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and what's going on in their season so far. Let's get into it.
I'll tell you what's going on. Can we just talk about the elephant in the room? What happened when the Brooklyn Nets played the Toronto Raptors?
KD's debacle is what happened. Let's just get down right into it. Let me tell you right now, NBA, Brooklyn Nets organization, y'all dropped the ball. You dropped the ball, and someone in particular, or a group of people in particular on the Brooklyn Nets, in the Brooklyn Nets organization, y'all made the NBA look really bad. Really bad. Because if you had doubts about KD playing in the game from the beginning, he should not have played. But then to let him play, and then 19 minutes later, you pull him out after you had Steve Nash subsequently waste his challenge to overturn KD's fifth foul.
Yeah.
Horrible look. Horrible look. So I know on Twitter they were saying, oh, the NBA looks bad. Yeah, unfortunately, by way of the Brooklyn Nets organization, somebody on that team dropped the ball. Somebody.
Yeah, and you know what? They lost that game, and I'm giving them an asterisk because it was an emotional roller coaster from the beginning.
It was.
You know, you had your boy ready to play the game, KD ready to play the game. All of a sudden, whoop, and then he comes in the game, makes a huge impact, and then all of a sudden, oop, KD's out again. It's like, as a teammate, how do you adjust to that on the fly? And I think that really caused the Nets to lose a game and kind of lose focus and just kind of like, it's too much commotion going on. I'm trying to play a basketball game and y'all doing too much with my big three of the three.
Exactly. You're going to make us a big two when we didn't want to be one. It's different when you know going into the game that this person's not playing. Then as a player, you can adjust your mindset. But to have him come in, and he didn't go out on injury. He went out on something that's already sensitive anyway. Health and safety protocols. People are sick of that anyway. And it is what it is, right? So if you're going, either it's going to be health and safety protocols, and we're going to be solid. I need for them to rewrite the whole guidelines, because whatever that was, there was a gap. And then now here I am on Twitter while I'm watching the game, and people are like, why are they even playing? Because if that's the case, then the game should have been stopped at that point. So you mean to tell me we're going to allow KD to jeopardize not only his teammates, but then everybody on the Raptors as well? That's so stupid. So that means that there is a hold in their process when it comes to health and safety protocols and the types of results that are coming from these players. Inconclusive means don't play. That's just contact tracing means just don't play. For you to pull somebody out mid-game? Silly. That was horrible.
Yeah, it was. Now, had this happened on the Yes Network, which is the Brooklyn Nets home network, or some Canadian network, I don't know. I just don't know if the NBA would be as embarrassed. This was a nationally televised game. It's not a good look at all.
Not a good look at all. And then right when we're on the cusp of All-Star game. And the concerns and the mumblings and rumblings around that. We'll talk about that at a later time, but it just didn't look good. And I really feel bad for the players because of the inconsistencies. What is the guidelines? Number one, NBA, can you, number one, make sure your players know what that is so they'll know what to expect? And then number two, can you tell us on the fans? I need to see a post on NBA.com on what your new revised health and safety protocol measures are. So then even we will know. And it's probably on there now, but whatever that is, it didn't work. And I want to know, where was the gap? It was horrible. It was really, really bad. And I really believe that whole incident messed up the headspace of the Brooklyn Nets players. Absolutely. It messed them up.
I know for sure it messed up Kyrie Irving. I mean, he had an okay game, played 35 minutes, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists overall. But it's something about with KD in or out, it really messed up his game. It just seemed like he lost his focus. He wasn't as engaged. And I can tell you one thing, in the fourth quarter, he went to sleep completely. I mean, did not even attempt to shoot the ball into the last couple of seconds, and then he missed that shot, and they subsequently lost the game.
Yeah, it's unfair. It's unfair to everybody, and it's unfair to the fans, right? So, do y'all need to go back to the bubble?
It's looking that way.
I know they don't want to, and I don't blame them. But do they need to go back to the bubble? I didn't like it. But you know, another thing that was kind of ironic, within those 19 minutes that KD played, he had 4 fouls. I was like,
yeah,
you was on the verge of fouling out anyway. Hence is why the last one was challenged. But it's just, it was disastrous. If you look back in retrospect from the beginning, they should not have had him play.
Yeah, and he scored, I think, like 8 points or something, which is totally not like KD
because it messed up his headspace as well. He was equally messed up. Like, I'm here, I'm not playing. Oh, okay. I can play. Oh, okay, good. I can't play. You see the way he threw that water bottle? He was over it. He was over it. He was
I know. And then he tweeted, "Free me."
It was awful. It was awful. It was a bad look. Nets organization. Ooh.
So now James Harden, he tried to, give as much as he could in that game. And overall, James Harden is playing a ton of minutes. Have you noticed he's playing more than KD and Kyrie? James averages about 40 minutes a game. And there was so much talk about him coming in out of shape. Hello, he doesn't even appear to be tired, and he's playing almost the entire game. Says a lot about his overall conditioning. He's just a big guy, period.
No, but the gag is it came out that he was wearing a waist belt.
What?
What? Like a back brace. That's what it was. He was wearing a back brace when he was with the Houston Rockets. That's why he was looking like Santa. That's the gag. So he was never really, I guess, overweight as to what people were expecting. I was like,
I did not know that.
I saw it come up. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But you take things that you see on social media with it, you do with it what you can. But I'm like, if that's true, and he was wearing a back brace, oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
God. No wonder why as soon as he was traded to the Nets, all of a sudden he looked slimmer. He stopped wearing the back brace.
Oh, that is so funny. But I appreciate how the Nets are using him. When he was with the Houston, at least his last years with the Houston, he was a shooter. That's just what he did, right? Mm-hmm. He is more of a facilitator now, which for me is super exciting to watch. But not only that, to know that the Brooklyn Nets have this secret weapon in James Harden, because they can technically say, okay, James, today you about to shoot lights out. Go on and do your thing. No, but right now, James, I want you to be a facilitator. Just get the ball to people, get comfortable with that. Because I think what's going to end up happening is that as the season progresses and as we get into the playoffs, we're going to see the role of James Harden change. That's what I think. And that is so cool. So you think the teams now are trying to figure out how can we play against the Brooklyn Nets? That ain't going to be the same team y'all play against. It's going to be the same players. It ain't going to be the same team. And their team is going to be different. And that is what's exciting.
Yeah, it is. James is their third leading scorer. Somebody had to take the back seat. I knew it had to be James Harden. It was not going to be Kyrie. No. Definitely not. And why should KD? He's.
And KD.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't going to be KD either. Yeah. So, that's good. Steve Nash. Okay, there is this question that was floating around on ESPN. I thought it was interesting. It said, does Steve Nash design a system around the talent, or is the talent the system? I said,
the talent is the system.
It is? Really?
The talent is the system because the talent that we're talking about, which is the big three, they're versatile. That's why. I think it's the talent. I don't know. What did you say?
Well, I'm just saying. Well, I've always thought that they really didn't need Steve Nash anyway. So the talent is the system.
They don't need Steve Nash.
No.
It can technically be anybody, really. Really, it can be anybody coaching them because they are so talented. They are so versatile, and they're proven that really you just get it, guys. I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. The talent is the system.
The
And we're going
talent
to
is the
figure
system.
it out on the fly, on the court, because we are that skilled. And that's what's happening.
And they can play to anybody's scheme because they can adjust. They have skilled enough players. And we're just talking about the big three. Please don't let us get started on Joe Harris.
Oh.
Is it really it's the big three plus one. That's what I'm pointing it. Big three plus one. And that plus one is Joe Harris. Because if you give him the ball is going in the basket.
Yeah, automatic. So Joe Harris is playing about 31 minutes a game and he's averaging 14 points. But I mean, come on, he's a sniper. Is he not?
You know what's impressive to me right now? He's shooting 49% from three. What? Wait, and he's like about 51% in the field goal average. Big three plus one. Y'all, when you hear it, it came from undrafted views. He's plus one. It's amazing. That's what I'm saying. Are we talking about the 2021 NBA Finals champions right now?
Of course.
You heard it here. If they don't, I'm going to be devastated, but they're amazing.
You know, Jeff Green has been a pleasant surprise in my eyes. I mean, he's playing center. He's only 6'8", but he can shoot the ball and he has been lights out from three. Let's not forget.
Okay, so the big three plus two. I mean,
you know what? It's just a big five.
It's just a big five, right? And even when they have to go down to the big three because they're pulling in rotation players, which is fine, they're still coming in and being role players. Like I can't even. And yes, the Brooklyn Nets have lost games. So guess what? Every team is going to lose games. You're going to lose games. You're going to lose games. But the potential and the future that you see in the roster is what should get you excited about what they would look like in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying. I don't expect any team to be no games lost. That is foolish. Even your favorite teams are going to lose some games. Doesn't mean they're not a great team, right? They just may have had an off night, or the team at that night was just better. That's just fine. But yeah, it's a big five.
Oh yeah. It's a big five.
You know, another thing that's really, really neat about the Brooklyn Nets roster is that they have a way of boxing in teams. And listen to what I'm saying. So while the big three or the big two or the big, whatever, the big two, because sometimes the big three don't play. Not every one of the threes play. But when they have their core out there, when I'm saying big, I'm talking about KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. When they're on the court, the opposing team has to double up on somebody. And what ends up happening is that the Brooklyn Nets, because they have great shooters on their team and great players, it leaves Joey Buckets over there, and I'm not talking about Joey Buckets over there in the corner to be able to hit a three. And then you got the other teams. If you've watched the games, you should see how they scramble to contest Joe Harris's shot. It is hilarious. And it's going to continue on. So that's why when I'm talking about the big three, big five, plus whatever they have on the bench, which leaves something to be desired, but they're still there. It's going to shock us come the playoffs.
Yeah, and I cannot wait. You know what's so interesting about Jeff Green, though? He's also part of that is, look, Jeff is playing a center. So how many centers can go out to the arc and hit the three? Jeff hit 5 of 8. I can't think of no centers with that type of range.
The unicorn, maybe?
Yeah, but Jeff is 6'8", so he's very versatile in that. He can just get by the defender who's a center on the other team. That's what I like about Jeff. And he fought back so hard to get back into the league. Hey, I'm all here for the Nets.
I'm here for the Nets too. What do you think a team needs to do long term to defend against the Nets? What is that? And I'm quite sure teams are trying to figure it out right now, but I wonder what it is.
You know what? Honestly, I can't think of any team that matches up perfectly with the Nets. And that's why I have them being the overall NBA favorite. And there's no team that can match up. I don't care what they do. They have too many weapons. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole. You shut down one, the other two get hot. You shut down two, then somebody else is getting ready to have a big game. There's nothing you can do.
Will defense or lack thereof be their downfall?
Mm, yeah, but I was thinking about this as I watched the game against Toronto. I said, are the Nets really that bad on defense, or is it the opposing team is giving it their all? You
Mm.
know,
Okay. Okay.
The Nets have a target on their back. Everybody's going to bring their best game when they play them.
Right.
So I don't know if the Nets are really that bad on D.
Interesting. You're right about that. And then we often, and I know I hear where they we talked about how, what team was that? That blew them out, that won 2 games against them. Was it the Wizards?
Cleveland. Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yes. Okay. So Cleveland. Oh, yes. Cleveland. Colin Sexton. Yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh, Colin, the Cleveland, really got the big three, and it's like, yeah, but Cleveland is not good. I mean, so did they, to your point, give their all? Like, and we're gonna give them all the effort we have, because we don't know if we're gonna be able to do that again. That's what I'm saying, right? So can the Cleveland Cavaliers sustain that? So don't get so clouded by the potential loss that the Brooklyn Nets have had, will have in the future, because it's not going to be very many. They're still going to be top of the Eastern Conference. Don't get me wrong, but they will lose along the way. But don't get so down on those losses, because I don't think it's a big deal.
It's not.
I don't think their losses are a big deal.
It's not. It really isn't. Right now, this is all practice for the playoffs. And then, and they're just preparing. They're preparing. And I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if all of a sudden there's a whole different scheme in the playoffs. So you guys, the opposing teams in the East and across the whole NBA, you're preparing for what you see now. But that's not what you're going to see later.
That's not what you're going to see. That is not what you're going to see. And it's so critical that teams know that the Brooklyn Nets, they're so talented. They're just playing basketball right now. It's just basketball.
Yeah, that's how
where other teams, they're playing because they're trying to get in. They have to play with their all, because their talent is not as great collectively as the Brooklyn Nets. So they find themselves having to play every game really, really hard. Well, technically, the Brooklyn Nets, because they're so skilled, these little balls real quick. It's a good workout. I done had a workout tonight. Other teams are like, we're trying to get a playoff spot. It's so weird. So when they lose a game, I'm like, I ain't even worried.
Don't worry. Not at all. And they do not have to be the first seed in the East. I don't care where they fall. They could be 3 through 5. They're still coming out the East, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. What would shock me is if they are like 7 to 10. That would shock me. I would be concerned then. I don't see it happening, but that would concern me. If all of a sudden now they've dropped in stock and now they're, competing in the play-in tournament. What? Okay, so then that means that either somebody was injured, knock on wood, hopefully that won't happen. That's about it. I don't know anything else I can do that. Anything else that's going to stop them from being between 1 and 6 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, nothing's going to stop them. All right, so now the bench for the Nets, they're pretty decent, right? Landry, Shamet. When James Harden came to the Nets, I wasn't sure how it would affect Landry. I think it's really messing up his minutes, though.
Yeah.
But when he gets in and he gets an opportunity to play, I think he is effective.
He's okay.
So Bruce Brown has been getting a ton of minutes. Steve Nash obviously sees a lot of talent in him, but he's a 2-year guard and he's making about 1.6. I'm sure he's working towards his big contract. What have you seen from him?
I don't know. I'm wondering if Bruce Brown's role is to be on more defensive than offensive, maybe. I'm waiting to see what that looks like and how they'll develop him into what they need for him to be for this particular Brooklyn Nets team. So the jury's still out on Bruce Brown for me.
Okay. What about TLC?
TLC, he's a nice complimentary player. When he comes into the game, he does put a valuable production, and I think that's what the Brooklyn Nets need as well. Again, he's a rotation player. He comes off the bench. So you want people that's going to be able to be inserted into the game when you have your big five sit down. I'm going to coin it big five, but when you have them sit down and he is able to hold his own and allow the Brooklyn Nets to at least maintain until everybody else comes back in. It's fine.
Yeah. Now, DeAndre Jordan, I wonder how he really feels. He is technically a center, and he's being outworked by a forward who's 6'8". DeAndre Jordan was the starter. He's now coming off the bench, averaging about 20 minutes, 6 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 1 block. I do like his bounce as late as he is in his career. That's pretty impressive. But I think they really should have held on to Jared Allen.
I think they should have kept Jared Allen also. However, now that he's not there, I believe that maybe they're preserving DeAndre Jordan till later on in the season. That's what I'm going to say. They're preserving him. You know, they don't want him to be overextended early in the season. They're going to need them old legs to be okay as we get closer to the playoffs. So hopefully he'll be able to, regain his starting position, and or if he comes off the bench, have more minutes. So we'll see.
And they surely going deep in the playoffs. So it's a viable, it's viable. Yeah. All right, you guys. So look, we're going to wrap up this episode on the Brooklyn Nets. Drop down in the comments and let us know if you think the Nets are going all the way.
All the way up.
All right, you guys, let us know what you think about this video, and we will see you guys on the next one. But until then,
Peace.
Peace, y'all.